Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I want to speak to you from the heart on something that is so important, something that has the power to change the way we live our daily lives. The belief that God will open the right door for us. And when we truly understand that, we can stop worrying and stay calm, even in the face of uncertainty. The first thing we need to understand is that God's timing is perfect. So many times we feel as though we are behind or that we've missed an opportunity. We want things to happen right now, but God knows the exact moment when He will open that door. He has been preparing you, molding you, and guiding you every step of the way. His timing is never early and never late. It's always just right. When we surrender to His plan, we take off the pressure to make things happen, and instead, we can trust that He is preparing us for what's ahead. The door will open when the time is right. The next thing we need to remember is to let go of fear. Fear often tries to stop us from taking the next step or making the next move. We become afraid of what might happen or what we might lose. But fear has no place when we walk by faith. God has a purpose for you, and He will open the doors that are meant for you. Don't let fear control your decisions. Don't let fear tell you that you're not good enough or that the right door isn't out there. If you keep your eyes on Him, the door will appear exactly when you need it. And of course, patience and persistence are key. While we wait for that door to open, we don't sit idly by. We continue to do the work. We continue to grow. We continue to trust. God doesn't want us to sit back and give up just because we can't see the door yet. He wants us to keep going, keep pressing on, and keep doing good in His name. And when that door does open, you'll be ready for it, because in your waiting, you've been developing the strength and wisdom you need to walk through it. Finally, I want to remind you of something very powerful. God offers you peace, even in times of uncertainty. When you are waiting for that door to open, there is a calm that is available to you. It's a peace that doesn't make sense to the world. It's a peace that says, I don't have to figure it all out on my own. I know that God is in control. Stay calm in the midst of your circumstances and trust that God will guide you when the time comes. Worrying won't open the door any faster, but peace will help you to stay focused and ready for the right opportunity when it appears. In closing, remember this: God has the right door for you. It may not always be the door you expect, but it will always be the door that is best for you. So don't worry, don't be afraid, and don't lose hope. Stay calm, trust God, and know that He is working behind the scenes, opening the door at the perfect time. When it happens, you'll know that it was worth the wait. Thank you. This speech draws on themes of faith, trust, patience, and peace, while offering an uplifting message of hope and reassurance. We often find ourselves caught in the rush of life, eager for things to happen on our timeline. Whether it's career goals, relationships, personal aspirations, or any other desires we hold dear, we want results immediately. But one of the most powerful truths we must come to understand is that God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own. We can struggle to see the bigger picture and sometimes question why things aren't happening as we hope. But when we trust in God's timing, we can find peace in knowing that He is preparing something even better than we could have imagined. God doesn't work according to our schedule or expectations, and that can be both frustrating and freeing. It's frustrating because we often feel like we are not where we should be. We look around at others who seem to be moving forward, achieving what we want, and wonder why we are still waiting. It's easy to slip into the mindset that we're falling behind, that time is running out, or that we've missed our chance. But here's where we must take a step back and remember that God sees the bigger picture. He sees what's ahead and knows exactly what we need at the right moment. We see only a small fraction of the journey, but He sees the entire path laid out before us. God's timing is not based on a human calendar or the passing of days and months. His timing is governed by His deep love for us and His perfect wisdom. He doesn't rush, but He also doesn't delay for no reason. We may not always understand why something takes longer than we expected or why doors seem to remain closed, but there is always a purpose behind it. Perhaps During this waiting period, God is shaping our character, teaching us patience, refining our desires, or preparing us to handle what's to come. He knows that the right time for that door to open might require more preparation on our part. We must remember that we don't have to force things to happen. The pressure to make things work can sometimes lead us to make decisions in haste or take actions that are not in line with God's plan for us. It's important to understand that while we are busy trying to open doors, God is at work behind the scenes, setting up opportunities, people, and circumstances that will align at the perfect moment. When we try to rush the process, we might walk into a situation that wasn't meant for us, and we end up regretting the decision later. But when we allow God to open the door at the right time, we can walk through it with confidence, knowing that it was always part of His plan. The beauty of trusting in God's timing is that we can let go of worry. So many of us are conditioned to believe that we must control every aspect of our lives, but the truth is we don't have to. We are not meant to carry the weight of constantly worrying about our future, our career, or our relationships. When we surrender to God's timing, we release that burden and choose to trust in His divine plan for us. We stop trying to make things happen on our own, and instead we walk in faith, knowing that He is opening the doors that are meant for us. God's timing also teaches us the value of patience. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about how we wait. Do we wait with hope and expectation, or do we wait with frustration and doubt? Patience is not a passive state of inactivity. It's an active process of trusting God and continuing to move forward in faith, even when we don't see immediate results. God uses the waiting season to deepen our trust in Him. It's during this time that our faith is tested, our trust is built, and our hearts are shaped to receive the blessings He has prepared for us. When the door finally opens, we'll realize that the wait was worth it. When we trust God's timing, we allow ourselves to embrace peace. It's easy to become anxious when we're focused on our own timeline. We look at others and think, why are they ahead of me? Or why hasn't this happened for me yet? But when we step back and choose to trust in God's perfect plan, we experience a peace that surpasses understanding. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing that we don't have to have it all figured out. We don't need to control the situation. We can simply rest in the fact that God is in control and His timing is always right. God's timing may not always make sense in the moment, but looking back, we often realize that the delays, the closed doors, and the detours were all part of His perfect plan. What we thought was a setback or disappointment might have been a necessary step in preparing us for something greater. In hindsight, we see that God's timing was always leading us to exactly what we needed, exactly when we needed it. So the next time you find yourself waiting for the right door to open, remember this: God is not late. He's not ignoring you. He's preparing you, and He's working things out for your good. Trust His timing, let go of the pressure to make things happen on your own, and allow His perfect plan to unfold. The right door will open at the perfect time. You don't have to worry. God is in control. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that can grip our hearts and minds, often leaving us paralyzed, uncertain, and hesitant to take the next step. It's natural for us to be afraid of the unknown, to worry about the outcome of our decisions, or to feel that we are not capable of handling what is ahead. But when we allow fear to control our lives, we let it dictate our actions and keep us from walking boldly into the future that God has prepared for us. This is why it's essential to remember that fear cannot coexist with faith, and we must choose to trust in God's plan, even when we don't fully understand it. Fear often manifests itself in different ways: self-doubt, insecurity, worry, and even anxiety about the future. We start questioning our abilities and wonder if we're equipped for the journey ahead. Fear can make us second-guess ourselves and prevent us from making decisions or stepping forward with confidence. We start comparing ourselves to others, wondering if we are measuring up or if we're missing some crucial piece that everyone else seems to have. This kind of thinking only breeds more fear and uncertainty. But here's the truth: fear is a lie that keeps us from embracing the fullness of what God has for us. When we are rooted in the truth of God's word and His promises, we realize that fear does not have the final say over our lives. God has equipped us with everything we need to face the challenges ahead. We might not have all the answers or the complete picture, but that's okay. God does not expect us to have it all figured out. What he asks of us is faith to trust him, faith to step forward, and faith to believe that he is in control, even when we can't see what's next. One of the most powerful truths in the Bible is that God does not give us a spirit of fear. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Fear, then, is not something that comes from God. It is something that comes from the enemy, meant to keep us from walking confidently in our purpose. When we embrace the truth that God has given us power, love, and sound judgment, we can stand firm against fear. We no longer have to shrink back, intimidated by what lies ahead. We can move forward with boldness and courage because we know that God is with us every step of the way. It's important to note that stepping out in faith doesn't mean that fear won't be present. Fear may try to rise up within us when we are faced with a new challenge or opportunity. But here's where faith comes in. Faith isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. When fear comes knocking, we don't need to let it control us. We can acknowledge it, but we don't have to let it define our actions. We choose to trust that God is leading us, that he will open the right doors, and that he will never leave us. Another thing that helps us overcome fear is remembering that God has a plan for us. When we are uncertain about our next steps, we can take comfort in knowing that God has already gone before us. In Jeremiah 29:11, God tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This is a promise that we can cling to. No matter what doors we are facing, whether they are closed or yet to be opened, we know that God is leading us toward a future filled with hope. We may not understand how everything fits together, but God does. He sees the path we are on, and he is guiding us through it. Our fear stems from our lack of understanding, but God has already seen the outcome. Fear often arises when we focus too much on the what-ifs of life. We wonder, what if I fail? Or what if things don't turn out the way I hope? But when we place our trust in God, those what-ifs lose their power. Instead of dwelling on the possible negative outcomes, we shift our focus to what God has promised. We focus on his goodness, his faithfulness, and his provision. When we fix our eyes on him, fear has no place in our hearts. One of the key aspects of overcoming fear is taking action. Faith is not passive. It requires movement. When we wait for all the fear to disappear before taking the next step, we might never move at all. But God doesn't call us to wait for perfection before acting. He calls us to step out in faith, even when we don't have all the answers. As we take each step forward, God meets us there, strengthening us, guiding us, and providing for us. With every step of faith, fear loses its grip and courage begins to rise. Let me remind you that you are not alone in this journey. God is with you, and he has equipped you for everything you will face. Fear will try to keep you from walking through the doors that God has for you, but don't let it. Don't let fear dictate your choices. Embrace faith, move forward with boldness, and trust that God will lead you to exactly where you need to be. The right doors will open, and you will walk through them with courage, knowing that God is always by your side, guiding you every step of the way. Patience and persistence are two qualities that are often tested when we find ourselves waiting for a breakthrough or for the right door to open in our lives. It's easy to get discouraged when things don't happen on our timeline or when we face challenges that seem to delay our progress. In these moments, we may feel like giving up, or we might wonder if we're on the right path. But the reality is that waiting is not just about enduring, it's about trusting God's process and continuing to move forward with faith and perseverance. When we talk about patience, it's important to understand that it isn't simply about waiting for something to happen. Patience is a virtue that requires active engagement with our circumstances. It means learning to trust that God is working in our lives even when we don't see immediate results. It's easy to think that waiting means doing nothing, but God often uses the waiting period to prepare us for the future he has planned for us. During this time, we can grow, mature, and become better equipped for the opportunities that lie ahead. God's timing may not always align with our own, and that's where patience comes in. We often want things to happen quickly, but God knows that the right door may need a little more time before it can open. Maybe there are things in our hearts that need refining, or perhaps there are lessons we need to learn before we are ready for the next step. We may not always understand why God's timing is what it is, but we can trust that He is in control and He will open the right door when the time is perfect. Our patience isn't passive, it's an active decision to trust that God knows what's best for us. And He will provide exactly what we need when we need it. The waiting period can be difficult, and it's natural to feel anxious or frustrated during this time. We may start to question whether we've been forgotten or whether our prayers are being ignored. But God is never late. He is always working behind the scenes, even when we can't see it. The waiting is not wasted time. It's a time of preparation, a time when God is aligning things in our lives to bring about His perfect will. This is where persistence comes in. While we wait, we don't simply sit idly by. We continue to move forward in faith, trusting that God is working everything together for our good. Persistence is about continuing to take steps forward, even when things seem slow or unclear. It's about refusing to give up, even when the path doesn't seem to lead anywhere immediately. Persistence doesn't mean forcing things to happen on our own, but it does mean that we keep trusting, keep working, and keep doing our part. God rewards persistence. It's in the moments when we feel like quitting that our persistence will prove our faith. The longer we wait, the more we are refined and strengthened for the journey ahead. Persistence is not just about pushing through obstacles. It's about trusting that God has a plan, even when we can't see the end result. There is something incredibly powerful about the combination of patience and persistence. Patience helps us to trust the timing of God, while persistence keeps us moving forward in the direction He's leading us. When we have both qualities in place, we are able to face the challenges and delays of life with a calm and confident spirit, knowing that God is faithful. We understand that the process is just as important as the outcome, and through it all, God is shaping us into the person we need to be for the opportunities He is preparing. Even when things don't look promising, persistence and patience allow us to keep moving forward with hope. God often works in ways we don't expect. The door we think should open may not be the one God has in mind, but as we continue to trust Him and remain persistent, we become more attuned to His voice and better equipped to recognize the right door when it finally appears. The door that opens after a season of patience and persistence is often the one that will lead us to the blessings and opportunities that God has prepared for us all along. One of the greatest lessons we can learn during times of waiting is to focus not on the door itself, but on what God is doing in us during this process. Our faith is being tested, our character is being developed, and our trust in God is growing stronger. The waiting period is not a time of stagnation, but a time of transformation. It's during these times that we learn to rely more deeply on God and less on our own understanding or abilities. It's when we stop trying to control the situation and begin to fully trust in God's timing and plan that we experience true peace. We must also remember that patience and persistence do not mean that we are meant to face our challenges alone. God is with us every step of the way, and He is guiding us even when the path seems unclear. His grace is sufficient, and His strength is made perfect in our weakness. As we persist, He strengthens us. As we wait, He teaches us the right door will open at the perfect time. And when it does, we will be more than ready to walk through it, confident in the knowledge that it is God who has brought us there. So let's keep trusting, keep moving, and keep believing. The right door is on its way, and the process of waiting and persevering is preparing us for something far greater than we can imagine. We may not know exactly when it will open, but we can be certain that God's timing is always perfect. Our role is to stay patient, stay persistent, and trust that He is working all things together for our good. In life, it's easy to become overwhelmed when things aren't going as we expect. When we face uncertainty, it can feel as though everything is out of our control, and the weight of it all can threaten to steal our peace. But amidst the chaos and unpredictability of life, God offers us a peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace is not dependent on our circumstances or the outcomes we see in front of us. It is a peace that comes from knowing that God is in control, that He has a plan for our lives, and that His timing is perfect. We are invited to embrace this peace, especially when we're waiting for the right door to open, and to trust that God's presence will sustain us through it all. It's important to understand that peace doesn't mean the absence of struggle. It doesn't mean that life will be free from challenges, setbacks, or difficulties. Peace in this context means that we can walk through the storms of life with the assurance that God is with us every step of the way. It's the ability to remain calm and centered, even when everything around us seems chaotic. It's a deep inner peace that comes from knowing that we don't have to have it all figured out on our own. The pressure to fix everything is lifted because we can trust that God is working on our behalf. This peace isn't something that we can manufacture on our own. It is a gift from God, one that comes when we choose to trust Him in every circumstance. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This verse beautifully captures the essence of the peace that God offers us. When we present our worries, fears, and anxieties to Him, we can experience His peace, which will guard our hearts and minds, allowing us to remain calm in the midst of uncertainty. One of the greatest obstacles to peace is worry. It's natural to feel concerned about the future, especially when we don't know what's ahead or when things aren't unfolding as we expected. But worry is not the answer. Worry only drains us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It keeps us focused on the what-ifs and the potential negative outcomes, which only increases our anxiety. But when we choose to release our worries to God, we are trusting that He will take care of us. We don't have to carry the burden of anxiety or the weight of what might happen. Instead, we can focus on the present moment, knowing that God will provide for us every step of the way. God's peace also helps us to stay calm when we are waiting for something specific, whether it's the right job, the right relationship, or the right opportunity. The waiting period can be especially challenging because we often don't know what is going on behind the scenes. We can't see how things are aligning, and we might begin to feel restless or impatient. But God's peace allows us to rest in the knowledge that He is working all things together for our good. Even when we don't see immediate results, we can trust that God is preparing us for what lies ahead, and that His plan is unfolding perfectly, even if it looks different than we expected. It's during these waiting periods that we often feel the most vulnerable. We may be tempted to worry or to take matters into our own hands, trying to force open doors that aren't yet ready to open. But this is where we need to remember that peace comes from trust, not from control. We don't need to rush the process or force things to happen. In fact, when we try to control the situation, we often create more stress and confusion for ourselves. True peace comes when we choose to release control and trust that God will open the right door at the right time. The more we surrender to Him, the more we experience His peace. Peace also plays a vital role in our ability to hear God's voice clearly. When we are anxious or distracted by worry, it becomes difficult to discern His leading. Anxiety clouds our judgment and keeps us focused on our own solutions rather than God's direction. But when we are at peace, we are better able to tune into God's voice and hear the gentle whispers of His guidance. This peace allows us to follow His leading with confidence, even when we don't know exactly where it will take us. We trust that He is guiding us toward the right door, and we trust that He will reveal it to us in His perfect time. The peace of God also strengthens our resilience. Life is full of challenges, and it's easy to become discouraged when things don't go as planned. But when we are anchored in God's peace, we have the strength to keep going, even when things get tough. Peace doesn't mean the absence of difficulty. It means having the strength to endure and to persevere with faith, even in the midst of trials. When we are at peace, we don't give up easily. We keep trusting, keep moving forward, and keep believing that God is faithful, no matter what the circumstances may be. As we wait for the right doors to open, we must remember that peace is available to us. We don't have to live in a constant state of worry or anxiety, even when we don't know what's ahead. God offers us peace that transcends our understanding, peace that allows us to remain calm and steady, even when things around us seem uncertain. When we trust in God's timing and believe that He is in control, we can embrace this peace and rest in the assurance that the right door will open at the perfect time. Until then, we can stay calm knowing that God is working all things together for our good and His glory.